Hey, Scott Sambucci here with the Startup Selling Program. Today, you can see I'm not in my normal office. I'm at the Pete's Coffee in the Ferry Building in San Francisco. I kind of call this one of my second or third offices. I'm just about to go to a kickoff strategy meeting with a brand new client as part of the Startup Selling Program. And one of the things that we often do is talk about risk in the sales process with a lot of these new clients, because oftentimes they're not making progress simply because the customers that they're working with, their prospects, are viewing them as being too risky because they're a startup. So I want to give you a couple of ideas on how you can look at your own sales process and reduce some risk in your from the perspective of your customers. So there's a couple of key ideas I wanted to share here real quick. One of them I learned a couple of weeks ago from a guy named Taki Moore, who's a coach that I work with, and he was sharing something he learned from a guy named Dean Jackson. And Dean is a marketing guru. You can Google Dean Jackson, and one of the things that he talks about is that customers care about two things. They're just like mice. Customers are like mice. They either want to get cheese or avoid cats. And so at any point in time, if you're trying to avoid cats, the last thing you can do is think about getting cheese. And so you can think about adopting that mindset as part of your selling process, because your customers inherently are going to view you as a startup and as a startup product as a cat, right? As much as they want to get cheese with your product, they really are viewing you and viewing your company as a risk. And so a couple of key ideas I want to share with you as part of the Monday morning challenge. And just wrote a few down. I wanted to make sure I get to them. One of them is, ask yourself, where do you think there might be risk in your product? So it's easy for us to be subjective and think that, our product is going to work great and the customer's going to love it and there's not going to be any problems. The truth is, we're obviously a little bit biased, and as much as we want to believe that, and we probably do believe that, the truth is there's going to be some hiccups and some perceived risk from the customer. So the second thing you can do is look at those sales that you have in your pipeline and ask yourself, is the step you're asking your customer to take with you too big? Is the next step too big? So maybe you're trying to get from a product demo to a signed contract. Like, that's way too big of a step, because there's a lot of due diligence, there's a lot of technical reviews that need to happen between that demo and that contract signing, right? So is that a step that you're making that's too big for the customer to take, and thus creating some ambiguity and, of course, perception of risk? The last thing you can do is to simply ask your customer. And the way I would want you to ask your customer is to say this: Look, customer, I realize that while you're really excited about what we do, I also understand and completely accept that right now, even though you love our product and you love the idea of our product, there's probably some perceived risk about the implementation or how the product is going to work. So what I'd like you to do is tell me where you feel like the 2 or 3 biggest risk areas are for you and for your company in terms of adopting our product. And just accept it. Step right into that conversation. And your customers are going to appreciate it, because they will appreciate that you know that it's a risky endeavor for them. And secondly, when they tell you what those risk factors are, you'll be able to start working on those together. So that's my challenge to you, is to look at the places where you might have risk in your sales opportunities. Look for places you can reduce the steps that you're taking along the sales process, and ask your customer where their perceived risk is, so that you can start working on those gaps. Okay? So what I want you to do here is just simply in the comment box, put a little note or a little comment on where you think your risk is for your sales opportunities. So if you look at your pipeline, what are your top 2 or 3 sales opportunities, and tell me where you think the risk is, and I'll respond back, and I'll give you a little my perception or my 2 cents on where you might be able to reduce a step, or where you might be able to cover up some of the risks or gaps or weaknesses in your sales process. Okay? Sound good? So that's my Monday morning sales challenge. Work on the risk in your sales pipeline. So this is Scott Sambucci, founder of Salesqualia and the creator of the Startup Selling Program, signing off.